Google Cloud Platform, Platform as a Service with App Engine. For those folks familiar with App Engine, you're pretty familiar that it goes back more than a few years. It's an exciting service by Google Cloud Platform, very powerful service for that matter. In this course, we're going to go ahead and talk more about Google Cloud Platform App Engine and some of the benefits, how to use it, why you want to use it, etc. But before we get started, I'd love to introduce myself. I am Joe Holbrook. I've been a cloud architect, technical trainer, as well as a data storage engineer and quasi-developer as well. With that said, I'm Google Cloud certified, Amazon Web certified, CompTIA certified, as well as EMC certified as well. With that said, let's go ahead and talk about what we need you to have to be successful in this course. The prerequisites are basic knowledge of cloud technology. Hopefully, we understand what Platform as a Service is. This is an intermediate course. I wouldn't consider this basic, but I wouldn't consider this expert level either. We're going to go ahead and hopefully expect you have basic knowledge of Google Cloud, that you've used some of the services. Not totally necessary, but it would definitely be helpful. I will do my best, of course, to minimize any jargon without explaining it beforehand. That you're willing to also learn App Engine. App Engine is a remarkably simple platform as a service you could use. Google has done an amazing job making it about as easy as possible for developers, programmers, and anyone else who wants to just play around with code to be able to do that. You would definitely want to sign up for a free account with Google Cloud. Now, I just want to make it clear that depending on your geography, like in the European Union, you may not have access to a free account or free credits with cloud providers. I understand it's mainly because of the tax laws. Apparently, Europe likes to tax people on free things as well. So I don't have an explanation other than you may not be able to sign up depending on where you are logging in from. So if you can't use a Google Cloud free account or $300 credit, depending on your geography, then my recommendation is to do your best to minimize costs and just play around as little as possible. You should be able to, though, use some of the additional services that I'm going to talk about at the end. But once again, every country could be different in Europe and parts of Asia. So once again, let's, deal with that as we come. Programming experience would be helpful. I'm going to go into detail about what Google App Engine supports from a programming language perspective. However, you don't really need to have programming experience. What you could do is use some of the free services that are available, Quick Labs, whatever you so choose, Dev Labs, and essentially play around and get a test app like a Hello World up and running. This will give you an idea of the powerful capabilities of this service by Google Cloud. Let's go ahead and talk about the modules we're going to cover. Module 1, we're going to talk about the intro. This is Module 1. Module 2, we're going to talk about App Engine Overview, what it is, why you want to use it, where it came from essentially briefly as well. Module 3, we're going to talk more about App Engine history. I think it's important to understand how it evolved. It's sort of an interesting story, in my opinion, how Google decided to get App Engine going and some of the variables that sort of got it to where it is now. Module 4, we're going to talk about App Engine as a platform as a service and where it fits in a lot of development environments. Module 5, I'm going to briefly talk about AWS and Azure and where they fit in as a competitor. Module 6, we're going to start talking about software development kits, where you get them, why you want to use them, how you could utilize them to your benefit. Module 7, we're going to talk about development languages like Python, PHP, Ruby, etc. We're going to talk about how to install the SDK kits. Module 9, we're going to go ahead and talk about App Engine Standard and App Engine Flexible. There's 2 versions of App Engine. Standard may work, but you may need to go over to Flexible. With data storage, now, chances are if you're using App Engine, you will likely need to use some storage. And I'll explain some of the basics of data storage with App Engine. We'll proceed on to Module 12. We'll talk about data services. Some of the data services will be everything from BigQuery, Bigtable, PubSub, you name it. Module 13, a very important subject area is around identity and access management and security. One of the things that is always advisable is to develop your apps with security in mind ahead of time. This should enable a good DevOps workflow. Module 14, we're going to talk about other GCP services. Module 15, we're going to go ahead and proceed over and talk about deployment considerations with App Engine. Module 16, I'm going to touch on some of the programming languages, mainly PHP. I'm going to do a demo on that so that you have an idea where to get started. Module 17, I'm going to discuss pricing. Now, once again, pricing is an interesting model that Google uses. It's free, but then some parts are not free. And I'll talk about how that works essentially. Module 18, we're going to talk about what a project is, why it's really important in Google Cloud in the first place. Module 19, I'm going to go ahead and discuss quotas. 20, we'll go ahead and discuss support. And then Module 21, I'm going to talk about DevOps, why that's really important in today's IT environments. Module 22, we'll proceed over and talk about tool sets that are available with GCP, everything from migration over to development. Module 23, we're going to talk about performance. Module 24, we'll proceed over and talk about some resources you could use like Quick Labs and Code Labs. These are excellent resources for anyone wanting to learn and being walked through how to do something. This is a great way to start. Module 25, we're going to wrap it up with some other resources you could take a look at and proceed to the completion of the course. Let's go ahead and discuss the objectives. Objectives of the course is that you will gain an understanding of the GCP App Engine service, that you'll be able to set up basic services like VMs and App Engine. You'll have an understanding of how GCP App Engine works, how you get started, how everything works together, how billing works, how pricing works, how SDK kits work, how VMs and storage work. That's sort of the goal. And hopefully you'll learn how to develop and deploy apps on App Engine and essentially become successful in deploying whatever service that you're looking at deploying. And then briefly, we're going to cover more about this when we get to some of the other modules, but I wanted to make sure you had an idea where we're at here. Google Cloud Platform has numerous options when it comes to deploying services. We're going to mainly focus around the low ops and DevOps areas in this area. This is your platform as a service. We're going to mainly focus in those 2 areas. We'll touch on some of the other areas like sysops and noops, but in general, we're going to talk about virtual machines and how those services fall into PaaS as well as storage and clustering, etc. Why do developers love App Engine? Why? Well, that's a great question. We're going to talk a lot more about that. It's essentially an on-demand, robust platform as a service, flexible environments to develop in, modify code in, rollout code, QA, whatever you're dreaming of. It is fully managed, so to also sum that up, it could also be whatever manage you want. If you want to go ahead in and modify virtual machine configs, you could. You want to scale, you could. So fully managed, again, is sort of how it's usually deployed. But if you want to get, you want to manage some of the control as well, you can do that as well. It's pretty flexible. Lastly, it's open and flexible. Again, a lot of flexibility on how you deploy your services. The code you can deploy is, pretty much whatever open source you want in most cases when it comes to mobile and cloud solutions. Google App Engine is designed for you to tap into a growing ecosystem of managed services, and it's essentially just an API call away. You could choose from SQL and NoSQL databases, monitoring and diagnostic tools, popular services like Cloud PubSub, and a range of great developer tools are on GCP. Let's get started.